Welcome to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. So glad to have you with us today. And joining me is Michael Allison with the Adversity Academy. Michael, so glad to have you with us. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Carl, thank you so much for having me here, man.
Hey, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about the Adversity Academy, and then we'll dive into our topic today.
Hey, so Michael Allison here, father, husband, and United States Marine Corps veteran, also the CEO of the Adversity Academy, where we do leadership development training for our corporate clients and also one-on-one coaching for some of us that may be struggling with some things in our lives, man.
Fantastic. Great. Well, today's episode to our audience is going to be a little different. Normally we're talking about sales and lead generation and marketing and operational kind of stuff. But today we're really going to talk about your health, your well being, and your mindset. And so I wanted to bring Michael in because I felt like this was a great topic for our audience. And so, as insurance agents, often you're rising through the ranks because of sales performance. But as you rise through the ranks, leadership demands a whole new skill set and brings a lot of new challenges. And so that's what we're going to get into in our conversation today. So, Michael, let's talk first about emotional intelligence. How can leaders develop this critical skill to better manage and support their sales teams?
I think it's important for us to learn how to connect from the human standpoint. We got to look beyond some of the things when it's tied to the performance and the statistics, those types of things, and just having that different type of self-awareness when it comes to the emotional intelligence aspect. I think the biggest challenge is shift from performer to developer. I think a great agent may know how to like close deals, right? But leadership isn't just like about what you can do, but it's about how you could empower others and perform. So emotional intelligence is tapping into what is on the other side of this, right? Understanding this person that I'm working with, understanding this person that I'm dealing with, and understanding and identifying what is it that they need and how can I serve them too as well. Many new leaders struggle with how can I let go of control and just adopt a coaching mindset? And I think that this is imperative for us to start thinking of like, how could we be much more strategic builders? And I think this is allows us to actually start looking past the metric standpoint and just tapping into that emotional intelligence, then tapping into some of the team development. And this creates the ability to create that culture where you can start thriving and not just roaming around inside of a room and not actually knowing to understand it or knowing what is going on inside of that room when it comes to our team, when it comes to our culture, and it comes to that environment too as well.
I think that's tremendous. In fact, it's had a guest on here recently that we were talking about emotional intelligence in the production side,
Hmm.
and those that have higher emotional intelligence actually recover better in the sales environment from the word no. And it's interesting having this conversation. But let's talk about the deeper topic here: mental health and burnout. Burnout is a real threat when we're talking about high competition, tight margins, compliance, legal issues, rate environment going up and down, churn in your customer base. So, what are some of the signs that an agency leader could spot early on that's a warning sign of burnout in themselves or even in one of their team members?
Interestingly, burnout really starts out very loud. It starts off with withdrawal. It starts off with like brain fogs, or it just starts where you start feeling numb. And leaders should actually watch out for these types of signs as you'll see the dip in your performance. You'll start having some of these emotional outbursts, or people just stop contributing in meetings. I remember for myself when I was thinking I'm giving my all, I'm giving my all, I'm going to pour into the company, pour into the company. And all of a sudden, I would just have these outbursts, and I was wondering, where is that coming from? And it was not until somebody identified that with me that I'm dealing with some of these things, and these are some of the things that I'm going through. For example, so in themselves, this is like creeping up with like cynicism, right? Or your loss of joy, and you're not really too happy anymore, and nothing really truly excites you, and you're just going through the process, just showing up, but you're not going all out, you're not fully participating. And it's not just like about the exhaustion standpoint, it's about the emotional depletion. If you feel that I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to participate anymore. You'll start seeing how your motivation starts dropping and you just starts getting missing and you show up to work late. You skip lunch. You don't even come back from lunch sometimes. You'll find yourself leading to distractions or things that's not even having you a part of being a part of your group or part of your environment or part of your company anymore.
That's interesting to hear. And especially that idea of cynicism and uh, just those little things. So, what are some practical ways that, as an agency owner, you can build a culture that prioritizes mental wellness but doesn't sacrifice performance, that accomplishes both things?
I love this. I had the opportunity to speak with Microsoft a couple weeks ago, and we were talking around stigmas and how we could let stigmas go in regards to having that inclusive environment in the workplace. I think mental wellness needs to be a part of your culture, not just in crisis response. If it's okay to be there in crisis response, that means it's okay to be there now in the workplace too as well. So this is what I talk about when it's time to be proactive opposed to being reactive. Let's normalize the rest. Let's like set realistic expectations around availability. Put your people in positions and opportunity to get the education and get the information and actually have a safe space, have the room, have the opportunity to talk about mental challenges and some of the things that they're dealing with and not just wait until things hit the fan, if you know what I mean. So you got to have the opportunity to encourage mental health check-ins and do some of these things throughout like your performance reviews. Above all else, you got to start modeling it. I think as leaders, you should never unplug and just wait, right? As leaders, you got to be there for your team, be there for your high performers, your low performers, be there for people that's in their frontline supervisors, your middle management. You got to start exemplifying that and showing that too as well.
That's good. Let's talk about, some of the dynamics in the workplace these days. You have agencies today where you may have multiple generations working, may
Yep.
have everything from, late baby boomers down to Gen Zs and millennials. So they're diverse. You're going to have diverse ethnic backgrounds, and anymore with remote teams. I know even in our company, I've got people all around the world on my team. So we come from different cultural backgrounds as well, besides the generational backgrounds. So, how do you foster collaboration and inclusivity in this type of environment? And then realize that at times conflict is inevitably going to arise. And the way those different generations and backgrounds deal with conflict is different. So how do you blend all of that together?
Man, Carl, I love this question. Let me give you this backstory. I'm from Jamaica and I speak Patois. I come to America and I come to Miami. If you've ever been to Miami, Miami is a melting pot. So I got moved into Little Haiti, Opa-locka City. So that's Haitian, that's Spanish, and then I joined the Marine Corps. So Marine Corps actually is another language too as well. Then I go to North Carolina, and this is when I got introduced to people from the South. Then I went to Japan and understand the Japanese culture. Then I went to California and understand the California culture. And quite honestly, I've traveled a good bit of the United States and outside of the world to actually get a chance to see what different cultures, different environment is like. So to answer your question, man, you got to start with being curious, not critical. Every single generation and culture brings different values, communication styles, work habits, and being able to travel the world, I truly had the chance to really embrace that and really had a chance to really know from different standpoints, different people's upbringing of what value that they actually bring to the workplace. So great leaders ask great questions like, what does support look like for you? Or how do you prefer feedback? Or instead of demanding conformity, build a culture of alignment, some of the things that's tied to like your shared values, the diverse perspectives. And I think when you do those types of things, it helps you with innovation. I had a friend that was working at Microsoft and they were in different departments, but they're still trying to work towards one common goal. And when we were speaking, I gave him the advice I'll say, how about you guys put everybody in the same room? You guys are building the same project, working on the same project. Put everybody in the same room and see all the ideas that you guys would have. And once they started doing that, they allowed everybody to communicate, allowed everybody to speak. And what came with that was great respect and great listening to as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. The insurance world is a results driven business.
Hmm.
And so it's very easy to fall into the trap of becoming a workaholic.
Hmm.
So, what are some of the risks of ignoring those personal boundaries, and how can leaders make sure that they balance that drive for success, getting the most out of every day, without ignoring their personal well being?
I think the cost of overworking is high and often invisible until like it's too late. So you'll lose relationships whenever you're getting burned out and not valuing boundaries. So it's important to have some clear expectations and actually identifying what are my expectations and what are some of the boundaries. So that leaves no room for ambiguity, no room for second guessing. And when you're able to do that and start scheduling things and putting things in place, then you'll be able to delineate your work hours, your things that needs to be honored, things that need to be set aside for your families, things that need to be set aside with your coworkers, the meetings that you need to have, putting things on the calendar. And this allows you to have a much more balanced life, I believe.
Yeah, that's good. Now, here's an interesting topic as well, and I've kind of entitled this piece "Overcoming Imposter Syndrome," because even successful leaders can struggle with their own internal demons, their self doubt. And how can leaders address this imposter syndrome where they don't feel like they really deserve to be there and cultivate confidence in the decisions that they make?
Man, I know all about this feeling. Carl, when I went to Iraq, where 2.5 months in, 3 months in, and I'm 22 years old, and I'm in a platoon of senior leaders. And when I say senior leaders, these people are in the corporate world, could be like your CEOs, your executives. So I have my gunnery sergeant, I have my lieutenant. We have staff sergeant and sergeants that's already been to combat and been in the Marine Corps longer than me. I'm in first section, my gunnery sergeant gets injured and they asked Sergeant Allison to help lead first section. At 22 years old with no combat experience, talk about feeling that you're not qualified and why did they pick me to lead? And what I really identified from that was I always had this gift of communicating people and working with people and learning people. I remember I told you that we sat in Kuwait and I had a chance to learn everybody that worked with me. So I knew what made everybody's tick. I knew everything about all of my staff. So who was more qualified to lead these group of guys in first section? It was me because I spent the most time with them. I knew I had a sense of responsibility in regards to how I treat these guys. And that has carried along for me, even when I was put in different circumstances and situations. I got working on the railroad. At 28, 29 years old, I'm leading men that's twice my age. I was faced with different challenges as soon as I started working there. But did I let that make me get out of my comfort zone? No. But you could tell that there's a level of imposter syndrome that could kick in. But this is where it thrives in silence. And it tells you that you're the only one who feel this way. But nearly like every leader, to be quite honest, goes through some of these same battles too as well. They actually deal with this. So you're not just the only one. But the first step to separate this is actually identifying what is the feelings that's tied to this and what are the true facts and identifying, am I truly qualified to lead these people? Do I have all the skills to lead these people? You would not be there if you were not in you if you were not fully qualified. It's just you second guessing yourself. So you might feel unqualified, but when you look at your track record, you should actually look at like, I have the confidence to actually do this because of all the things that I've done and remove that doubt that you've actually ingrained in your mind. I always tell people this that we're the number one customers like buying what we're selling ourselves, some of the things that are not even true. So when you actually identify some of these things and you made that decision, that's when you get a chance to actually move forward despite having imposter syndrome and just taking that leap of faith. So you got to start speaking that truth into your life. And when it comes with the affirmations, but it also comes with like declarations in regards to like declaring that you are fully qualified to do this. And another thing I would say that's tied to this, if you're ever struggling with imposter syndrome, is actually get someone that's like a mentor, someone that's always going to like coach you, someone that's always going to like keep on pushing you and putting belief into you, because that's what it is. It's a belief system,
Hmm.
right? So if you're lacking belief, if you're lacking faith, then you may need a mentor, then you may need a coach, someone that's going to be there for you. And that could be in the workplace or outside of the workplace. But having that type of person to be a constant reminder for you is always going to be a big boost for you.
Oh, I think that's so powerful, Michael. One of the greatest things I had a mentor, teach me many years ago is sometimes you have to borrow somebody else's belief until you can believe it yourself. And I think that's great advice. So let's talk. It's kind of leads into this next thought. Things are changing. And there's new technologies. Every day everybody's afraid, is AI going to replace me? Especially in the sales world. AI is being trained now to sell and pre-qualify and close deals, and you've got the economic pressures, and you can't always control what the insurance company is going to do, and you've got to be resilient. And so, how do you develop resilience to lead, even when things are uncertain? How do you make sure that you don't get shaken?
Resilience started for me at a very young age, and seeing my parents push through tough times and never seeing them quit or give up. I adopted that for myself, and I've applied that through sports. I've applied that through the military. I've applied that through employment. And I realized being resilient means that you choose and make a decision to actually go through something and facing it, opposed to quitting and giving up, regardless of what it is. There's many times in my life I could have quit, I could have given up, but I've said no. So I think resilience is in uncertain times comes from just one word. And you got to be able to be adaptable. And adaptability is very key. I think the most resilient people in the world are those that choose to like just go through things and face things, right? Whatever it is. And you don't have to just cower to something. But if you make up in your mind that I'm going to respond and I'm going to have clarity through this and I'm going to take control of the circumstance, I'm going to take control of the situation, then that gives you a head start. And whenever you choose to do that, it keeps you grounded. But now you understand your ability to like value who you are, because now you know who you are. And this is a part of something where you could actually start creating a strategy where you're just much more flexible. But this is something where it takes practice if you're not there yet. And this is where I would say that you got to start like investing in your mindset, investing in your makeup in regards to what is going to make me mentally tough, mentally resilient, and pushing through things, especially in the space that I'm in. So do you have to challenge yourself and create routines of putting yourself in tough circumstances, tough situations? Is it in the gym? Is it working out? Is it solving different problems? What is it that you need to start building up that mindset and that routine that's going to always keep you focused? Oh, something hard hits, push through it. Something hard hits, keep going. And once you start doing this, you'll find whenever you're in different chaotic situations, this is what the military does. They train us to be in tough situations, tough circumstances, and just keep on pushing through it. I will say this is a good thing that the military has taught us too as well. Like whenever you're facing tough times, to be adaptable and flexible, you have to learn how to like compartmentalize things, right? Deal with it, face it, and keep on moving. But you don't quit, you don't give up. You just keep on going through this. And this is what sometimes we also call like stacking small wins. Like just keep stacking these, just keep stacking them as you keep on pushing through. All right, yeah, I got through this one. All right, cool. I could get through this one. I could get to the next one. Just keep on stacking these wins as well.
That's powerful. And I love what you said to start that. It all starts with a choice. You
Absolutely.
have to choose. And so powerful thoughts there. So as we start to kind of bring this to a close here, you've built the Adversity Academy on the power of personal story. And so telling your story of overcoming your own challenges is one of the ways that you can build trust and inspire others. And that's something you really encourage others to do, even when you're going through your own times of adversity. Would that be correct?
That is correct. I found that ever since I decided to become vulnerable, transparent, share my story from a human level and connect with people, I've had the most amount of engagement, communication with people of like, man, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing that. You've now showed me that if you could do this, you create a way. Your story is your superpower. people just don't follow perfect leaders, right? But they're trying to find someone where there's a human connection and someone that's willing to let down some of their barriers and putting silos around them where there's just like glowing person and there's nothing that is wrong with them. Nobody's perfect, right? So when people see that you are a true real leader, they'll follow real leaders. When you get a chance to share what you've overcome, they're saying to themselves like if he got through this, then I could get through this too. Or they look at you as a mentor, as a coach, or someone that's going to help guide them through because you've been there before. And I think you're building permission for others to overcome that. So when you use your story, you create that connections. And when you tell your team some of the things that you've been through as well too, you let them know that I struggle too, right? I go through some of these things, but I chose to be resilient. I chose to transform myself, become adaptable, become flexible. And when you do that, you have the opportunity as a leader to actually transform the culture, build some loyalty, and inspire the belief in your team as well.
That's an incredible soundbite. Your story is your superpower. I think everybody ought to write that one down and post it somewhere. So, Michael, been a great conversation today. If somebody wants to connect with you, learn more about the Adversity Academy, how can they do that?
Yeah, definitely. On social media, you can follow me at I am Michael W. Allison, and the Adversity Academy is www.theadversityacademy.com.
Excellent. And to our listeners, we want to thank you for tuning in today to the Digital Insurance Agent Podcast. Michael, thank you for joining us again. It's been great having you.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.